Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I mean, just to kind of add to what Pat was saying, what's especially interesting about Steve King when he delves into history and some of the Trump campaign also, in 1400, about what, 700-800 years ago at this point, the top scientists, the top mathematicians, the top astronomers, basically the top intellectuals in the world were Muslims in the Ottoman Empire, housed in Mesopotamia and all the way through southern Europe, all the way to Spain. That was where the font of human learning used to be located in Alexandria in Egypt. We've had this long history where to even call it Western civilization, I don't even know what that means, because even when Rome kind of civilized all of Northern Europe, Rome and the Roman Empire and their lineage very tightly tied to the Egyptian Empire of Ptolemy and to the Greeks and through Turkey and everything. I mean, the Holy Roman Empire formed after Rome divided in Istanbul. There really is no such thing as this Western civilization that he's talking about, because all the influences and everything else that you were talking about, it's so intertwined. And you got to just think that he was getting sick and tired of, and this is by in no means trying to defend him, just trying to put his statement into a little bit of a context here. Having grown up in that part of Iowa, having grown up with people who kind of say things the way that Steve King says them, who speak the way that he speaks about this sort of stuff, he's not a globalist person. He just isn't. He's interested in his district. He's interested in Washington. He's interested in the country. I wouldn't ever question his patriotism or that he loves where he's from. Obviously, he's born in Storm Lake. He loves that part of the world, but he's not a globalist thinker. He really isn't. And so when he forays off into those areas, he really does put his foot in his mouth. And the shame of it all is the folks back home. They won't hold him accountable to it. They love this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm gonna. The shame of it really is then it's so easy to dismiss his brilliant intellect.
That's right.
That's really what the problem is. Holding him accountable, honest to goodness, it's an opinion. Simply because I don't agree with that opinion doesn't mean it's any more valid or any less valid than mine. I don't agree with that.
Well, no, it does.
Well, we can go through and prove. I mean, because honest to goodness, look at the Chinese. I mean, you brought up gunpowder. I mean, I would think, that you wouldn't like the Chinese, but apparently you like fireworks.
I love fireworks.
But you don't like guns.
I like fireworks. I like the 4th of July. Now, here's the issue. When you have a bad opinion, you absolutely can say that opinion is worse than one. If you were to come out and say, it's my opinion that the sky is filled with chocolate, and I have this opinion not based on anything, just I feel that way, and that's what I go, and I say that's crazy. My opinion is that it's not, that it's refracted light or whatever. Whether you prove that or not, we'll never be able to prove that one way or the other. But my opinion, I would say, your opinion just isn't as valid as mine. So if you come out and say that there are no other subgroups of people, to call them subgroups, you know what?
That's the other thing. I'm like, I admit I messed up. I did. But I didn't mess up like that.
Okay, so you know what?
Holy cow!
I'm moving. It was funny. I was having a great time with it all day because he just cracks me up when he does this stuff. But we should probably move on because there's more to talk about. We don't need to spend the rest of the 20 minutes talking about Steve King. Do you think that?
I kind of like talking about thieves. When somebody else screws it up, I like talking about that. It takes the heat off.
Do you think that it's going to have cast any kind of shadow? I mean, he's got a national profile because of the immigration thing, but I just don't. A rank and file guy from Iowa, I don't see it.
No, I don't think it's going to have any kind of impact on the RNC. I don't think it's going to have any kind of impact on Trump. In fact, one of the things
Trump probably sent him a thank you letter or a gift basket or something.
That was my next point. You have to keep in mind there are certain elements in any campaign that you really don't want.
Yep.
Just like Black Lives Matters. Look at those hooligans. Look at what they've done to something that I think is, hey, listen, we need to draw attention to this, police brutality issue. and you get a bunch of morons out there doing things. Part of the problem is people that will like what Steve King had to say. Yeah, we've contributed a lot, right? Or maybe we're the main contributors. There's elements like that in the Trump campaign. I will also tell you personally, I know several people who are Democrats and all for Bernie Sanders and well, not necessarily Hillary Clinton, but Bernie Sanders believe the same way. So you get that kind of thing going on. I don't believe it's going to have any kind of long-term impact. One of the things I would say is there isn't a way to defend or double down on what that is, because there is so much historical precedent that says we are all intermixed. One of the interesting things that I like about not that I like about the Roman Empire, but I liked learning about the Roman Empire, is slaves weren't based upon your race. Here in America, it was very clearly based upon your race. It was Native Americans and blacks. Those are the people that were enslaved in America. Part of the problem is we viewed that as race. They were inferior. In Roman times, you got conquered. It didn't matter if you're white, yellow, black, red, whatever color you were. If you got conquered, you could go become a slave. The other thing is they did intermarry. They intermarried a lot. The Ptolemaic line, I mean, that came straight from Cleopatra was yep. Greek, wasn't she?
No,
isn't that what it was?
No, well, she was Roman. Egyptian, but she married, had an affair with Mark Antony, who was Roman.
Yeah, but Ptolemy
was Greek, yeah.
Yeah, he was Greek. That's what I meant to say.
Yep.
So you have all this intermarrying, and nobody looked at that like, oh, well, your skin's darker than mine, your eyes are different than mine, therefore you're inferior. And that's part of what makes this statement so egregious is the fact that you're referring to subgroups. Subgroups of what? Humanity?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and it's a bad phraseology. Now, if you're a statistician, when you're looking at subgroups, you take the entirety of the human race, and then each one is a subgroup, including whites. If you're looking at it that way, it's still a bad thing to say on national TV at the beginning of the RNC.
On MSNBC.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just incredible.
Props to him for going on MSNBC, but whatever. I mean, so...
we got about 30 seconds left for this
why don't the last time let's talk a little bit about some of the news that has been generated over on the Democratic side and some of the buzz that's been growing in the last day or two about Hillary's possible VP choice. Our own brother Tommy V in the news.
I read that.
Let's go. Let's talk about that next after the break.
We're going to talk about Hillary Clinton's vice presidential nominees or potential picks right after this break. We couldn't do what we do without you. We'll be back after.